Okay, let's talk about the biggest mistakes people tend to make when choosing a recording studio. So hi, if you're new here, my name's Kato Zane. I'm a professional audio engineer. I work full-time as an audio engineer, mostly working on people's music, production, mixing, and some mastering. And I run a studio here in San Diego, California. So if you're new here, welcome. Hi, thank you. Thanks for visiting the channel. Let me know what you think. But what I wanted to talk about today is something that I see pretty frequently with clients and potential clients. And that is that they come to me and then we have this conversation about past experience. And I realize that there are some common mistakes that people are making over and over and over when choosing where to work, who to work with, stuff like that in terms of selecting a recording studio. So let's talk about that. So the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today, I'm not going to bury the lead, is the idea that a lot of people seem to choose a studio based off of the equipment and not so much off of looking at the experience of their engineer. So most studios will have good enough equipment for a skilled engineer to get the job done for you. Most studios have more than enough in that department. And the gear is a lot of fun to play with. I am totally on team gear nerd, right? But I think sometimes it distracts from the parameter that has even more of an impact on your end result, and that is the experience of your engineer. I hear from clients all the time that they had a bad experience somewhere else before they found me, before they talked to me, what have you. And often when you dig into the details with them about where they ended up, where they went previously, it tends to be a studio that had a lot of really nice gear, but when you then dig into the experience and the resume of the engineer that they actually worked with, the engineer had little to no experience, or the engineer had experience that's very different from their genre of music. And to be honest, that seems to be more and more common as the years go on. It seems to be something that's becoming more and more common. And the other thing, I just touched upon it, is the idea that you should consider the genre, the specialty of your engineer. So consider the genres that they work in, what's their primary genre, what are their secondary genres, what genres do they almost never work in, right? It's really important that you, for example, if you are working on metal music, you probably don't want to hire someone that works entirely with singer-songwriter or entirely with like classical, symphony type of stuff. So look into the genre of the engineer that you're working with, that you're considering working with, and also consider what their specialties are in terms of services, right? Some engineers do a ton of tracking. Some engineers are almost entirely mixing engineers. Some engineers are only mastering. So there's a range of what types of services an engineer will offer, and also how specialized they are in those services, right? If you are looking to have tracking done to record, then you might not want to hire somebody whose specialty is almost entirely mastering, right? That's on the opposite end of the production system, right? That's not to say that engineers can't be good at both things, at multiple services. There are engineers that are doing a range of services and doing them all well, but it's good to consider, right? Are you asking someone to do something that's in their wheelhouse, that is their specialty, or are you asking someone to do something that is outside of their specialty? And within any specialty, there's going to be a wild difference in how an engineer goes about things based on their genre. So that's something to think about. With that said, I have a little list prepared and I want to go through it, and it's what to consider when you're choosing a recording studio. So, number one, this might be obvious because we kind of just talked about this, but it's don't choose a studio, choose your engineer. And with that said, you can factor the studio into things. Like, do factor the studio, do consider the studio, consider the environment, consider the gear, consider the location, all that stuff. Factor the studio into the decision, but first and foremost, I would choose an engineer that you want to work with. Like I already said, most studios have good enough equipment to get the job done for you, unless they're trying to use something like a $20 super cheapo condenser microphone to record your vocals. And even then, a really experienced engineer might be able to do something good with that, right? But unless they have super, super, super basic equipment, they probably have stuff that's good enough for an experienced engineer to get a beautiful sound out of. And, the opposite is true, right? If you have a studio that doesn't have super fancy equipment, but you have an engineer with really, really good experience, with a ton of great experience, they should be able to make something sound beautiful with that equipment. It's the same idea as like a really good photographer can get a good photo with a Polaroid. It's about the skill level. The philosophy is that someone with a lot of skill should be able to do a good job, even with basic equipment. And fancy equipment, someone without experience can still get some really, really bad sound out of fancy equipment. Trust me, I've seen it happen before. The fancy equipment will not save them. Now, the next thing on my list is the idea that studio experience is not equal to engineering and production knowledge. And I've seen this come up a few times before where someone says because they have a ton of experience in the studio as a musician, that should count towards their engineering and production knowledge. So they use that to sell their ability to be an engineer or producer. And they might be a really, really great producer. I'm not saying it's impossible, but what I'm saying is that a lot of the time, when you're in the studio as a musician and that's your role, there are a lot of things that the engineer might be doing that they're not telling you about, right? There are a lot of things that they're pros and cons that they're weighing, things that they're doing behind the scenes. And it's mostly their job to worry about that stuff so that you don't have to worry about that stuff, right? They are navigating all that stuff. And if they told you about every single thing that they were doing, then it would interrupt the flow for you. So I guess part of that is realizing that as the musician in the studio, you're probably just understanding, or you're probably just noticing the tip of the iceberg in terms of what a good engineer or producer is actually doing for you. So just because someone has gone into the studio as a musician does not mean that they're going to be a good engineer necessarily. They might do a better job than someone who has never stepped foot in a studio before, but that's a pretty low mark to hit. And that's just because our job as an engineer and producer is to make sure that the artist has a smooth experience. And some of that means worrying about stuff for them, right? Doing stuff for them. And it's kind of silly if you think about it, right? You don't expect a flight attendant to know how to pilot a plane. You also don't expect a chef to know how to be the restaurant host. And you don't expect the lighting person in a theater to know how to act on stage necessarily. Just because someone has been adjacent to a job does not mean that they know how to do that job. And if they're bragging about how they never went through any training, which I have seen people selling services as an engineer bragging about how they never had any kind of training. I don't know how you could be interested in this stuff and passionate about this stuff and not seek out knowledge on the subject, whether that's by shadowing someone or going through a formal training program. There are a bunch of different ways you can learn, and it's not necessarily like one way is inherently superior than the others. But if you are interested in this subject, it shocks me that people will brag about not having any kind of training, because to me, that tells me that you're not that interested in the subject. Like, how good can you be as an engineer if you're not interested in the subject? Anyway, that's my rant. Now, another thing on my list that I want people to consider is how tech has changed over the years and how that has affected the industry. So over the years, it's become more and more affordable to have some kind of a home studio setup. So something kind of like what I have, where it's like a prosumer type of setup, right? This is in my home, but I am working professionally as an engineer. I'm selling my services here. And I'm kind of in this in between, depending on how you look at it, right? This is a studio that is in my home. It is a separate building from my house, but it's on my property, right? So, over the years, it has become easier and easier to have something like this. Before, years ago, it used to be that you had to have massive amounts of capital to buy the equipment to have a studio. So it was much harder for anyone to have any kind of a setup in their home that was even halfway decent. And the way that has changed the industry is that now there are a ton more people who are able to build some kind of a setup in their home that is good, that is commercially viable, that can get great results. So now there are a lot more people at the top of the industry that are working out of comparatively much smaller studios that are adjacent to their homes or in a smaller space of some sort. And what that leaves us with is a lot of big commercial studios with a ton of really fun gear, like really big soundboards, big, beautiful spaces, really exciting equipment to use. But a lot of the engineers, a lot of those places are being staffed. The people that are there all the time are often engineers that are more at the beginning of their career. They tend to have less experience overall because a lot of the people that are getting the really good experience are breaking off and kind of doing their own thing. And not only that, now that these people that are more experienced are spending less and less time in the bigger commercial studios, they might drop in occasionally as needed, but they're not there all the time like it used to be decades ago, right? So this is now no longer as good a learning environment for people that are starting out. So people get jobs working in these studios, assisting or actually working in these studios. And a lot of times they have less of a structure for mentorship within the studios than there used to be, right? So it's not the same learning experience that it used to be. So another thing that would be good to look at is who did your engineer learn from and in what context, and how much time did they have with this person that they're learning from, right? Stuff like that can have a really big impact. So, you have these people that might be towards the beginning of their careers that no longer have the same learning experience working in a studio that it used to be decades ago. And so they're not learning at the same pace that they would have been if they were working in a studio decades ago. And on top of that, you're going to be paying more for the commercial rent and the extra gear that you may or may not be using. So it's not always the best deal out there. And sometimes I'm wrong. Some studios have really great systems of mentorship and they still have very experienced engineers coming in fairly regularly. But that has become more and more rare and more what I personally think of as the exception to the rule. And, I'm not going to say any names, but I know of at least a couple cases of very, very, very famous, successful engineers, producers, people that actually own really fancy multi-million-dollar studios in LA, for example, who choose to work at home 99% of the time or like 95% of the time. They literally own the place and they can go in for free whenever they want, right? And they choose to work at home more and more and more because it works well. You can get a good setup at home nowadays and it's more convenient for them. It's more comfortable for them. And all that's to say that I have seen this happen in, I guess, what you might call a range of different situations, from more indie situations all the way up to what you might think of as like the top, depending on your perspective, right? And that brings me to the last point on my list for today, and that is the idea that paying more does not inherently mean that you're going to have a better experience. Like I said earlier, a lot of us, when we kind of break off and build our own little studio setup to work out of, we are able to charge less and keep more of it. So the way that plays out is oftentimes the people with a lot more experience may be charging something comparable to what someone with a ton less experience charges, or they might even charge a little bit less. I can tell you that I, for one, when I was working in big commercial studios, I was charging more to my clients than I am now with many of my clients. And that's because the commercial studios would need usually something around like $20 to $40 an hour just for the studio to keep. So you had to charge your engineer fee on top of that, right? And so that can make it a lot more expensive, a lot faster. And I had considerably less experience than I have now. So that's something to keep in mind. So my clients pay less. I get more. I actually get paid more now. I get to keep more of it now than I used to. And my clients get the added benefit of all the extra learning and experience that I have compared to my younger self. So think about it. What do you actually want to pay for? Do you want to pay extra for commercial rent and some blinking lights that you're not even going to use? I don't know. Like, you can see where my bias is, where my philosophy is here on this one. So please, for the love of all things holy, look into your engineer's experience, right? Think about their specialties, their sound, their genres, and don't just assume that fancy equipment is equal to a good choice or the right choice. I've seen so many studios in recent years go up where the person financing the studio, building the studio, running the studio, what have you, actually has no engineering or producing experience. They made their money elsewhere, right? And they just don't know what they don't know. I think it's great that they're excited about it. They're passionate about it, right? They're into it, obviously, but this is something that people spend their lives, they dedicate their lives to this stuff, right? And you can just keep learning, and that's the beauty of it. That's why it's interesting to a lot of us. And so there is a ton to learn that if you haven't embarked on the journey yet, you might just not have reached it. So as studio equipment becomes more and more affordable, I think some amazing things happen for accessibility. Things become more democratized. I think there's a lot of good there. But if you're looking to hire a professional, then I would not let the blinking lights fool you. Or don't let the blinking lights by themselves fool you. I think there will always be people who think that buying the fancy equipment is all that you have to do. I've heard people say things to that effect before. But if that's all you had to do a good job, then engineers would not be studying this stuff, spending their lives studying this stuff. We would get bored. So that's it. That's my rant. It's a little bit of a soapbox. I'm very sorry. Let me know if you're interested in videos like this. Let me know if this helps you pick a studio or if you agree or disagree with me on subjects. let me know in the comments below. If you want to work together on your music, my primary genres are indie pop and alt rock. Just go to katonoise.com and click the Get Started button. I have like 3 questions about your music, and then it takes you to a calendar where you can book a one-on-one call with me to chat about your music to get started on things. So please feel free to do that. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/katonoise. We have a Discord server we're hanging out on. I put up early release videos as I edit them. We have a book club that we're running on the Discord server. It's been a lot of fun. You can join for as little as $1 a month, so please check that out. And I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you so much for hanging out. Okay. All right, what's new? I'm going to my friend Evan's show tonight, and I'm going to bring my Tascam recorder and try to get a feed from the board to record some audio for her. So I'm going to go find the Tascam and get it ready to go, and some extra cables and gaff tape and all the stuff that we might need. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I'll talk to you later. Bye.